5-star wind harmony character Bronya. This is undisputably the strongest character, the cutest character, and the most intricate is that a word? Intrusive. Is that a good word for this? Oh my god, can I think of a word? She is the most silver hair character in the game. I absolutely adore this character. Okay, so her basic attack deals wind damage 110% at max levels to a single enemy. Her elemental skill dispels a debuff from ally whoever she chooses to put the elemental skill on, pushes up that character's action forward, which gives them a turn in the turn sequence, and she increases their damage by 79% at max levels for one turn. That is nearly a double damage, a double dipper there. It's insane. She increases the attack of all allies by 64% at max levels and increases their crit damage by 17% at max levels. Hold on now. That doesn't stop there. And that is a Bronya's crit damage, plus an additional 21% at max levels. So depending on the amount of crit damage you build on Bronya is the amount of crit damage you will give to an ally, and then you will have an additional thrown on top of that for 2 turns. It is insane. And this is for every single ally. What the hell? After using her basic attack, Bronya's next action forward will be increased by 33% at max levels. That is 1/3 of the turn sequence. 1/3 of the turn sequence for free. What the heck? After using Bronya's technique in the next battle, all allies attack increased by 15% for 2 turns. So before you get into the battle, if you use Bronya's elemental skill, you will increase the attack of all allies by 15% for 2 turns. So a 15% might not seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but you gotta take into consideration you're giving 4 allies a attack increase, so in actuality you're getting a 60% attack increase. Bronya's basic attack crit rate increases to 100%. So you do not need to, you can build Bronya with 0 crit rate. Her elemental skill and elemental burst doesn't do any damage. Her basic attack is the only damage source in her kit. You can have 0 crit rate and crit every single hit with her first trace. You get this in the early game. Let that sink in. You can build her with 0 crit and crit every time. That makes building stats on this character a lot more easier. This is great. At the beginning of the battle, increases all allies defense by 20% for 2 turns. So this only really matters whenever you're putting her with tank characters. If you're putting her with a character like Jeopard, giving that Jeopard the defense increase will help with, giving shields to the allies. Or if you put her with a character like the Trailblaze main character, male or female, right? You get the defense increase scaling for their shield, and that makes the shields a lot more stronger. So having this is really, really good for the beginning of the battle because it would help with tanking a lot more easily. So ideally, you really don't have to run, a healer character because you'll have a character that gives shields to the whole team. When Bronya is on the field, all allies deal 10% more damage. That is a 10% damage on top of all the damage amplification she already gives in her kit. Let that sink in. Wind damage increased by 8% at A5, and then she gets an effect res nearly 3% increase at A3. So it might not seem like a lot, and 3% it really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. It will help with building her. Now, ideally, since you get 100% crit rate on her basic attacks, meaning you don't need to build any crit, all you really need is effect resistance. It's important to get this because Bronya will be dispelling a debuff on an ally. Dispelling a debuff is very important for your DPS characters. I cannot express that enough. You don't want your DPS character to get taunted. It hurts really trying to play the game because they're taunted, right? You can only attack that single enemy. Also, thing to note is having the effect resistance helps with Bronya not getting taunted. If you're taunted, you can't use any of your elemental skill, your elemental burst. So that really hurts the character's kit because that's where you get most of your value. Her first Eidolon, so her Bronya's first constellation, whenever you use her elemental skill, you have a 50% chance of recovering 1 skill point, and this effect has a 1-turn cooldown. One thing to note is that it's only a 50% chance whenever you use her elemental skill, so you can already tell the RNG in that, but whenever you do land, it's going to feel really good because your rotations are going to be a lot more smooth. However, there will be some games where you literally, or some battles where you just don't even proc this, and you're gonna be very frustrated and be like, what the fuck, man, why can't I proc this Eidolon, this pay to win waste of money? I can't believe I got this is the worst Eidolon constellation in the game. And I will agree with you, 50% is annoying to deal with. After the ally targeted by Bronya's skill takes action, so whenever Bronya gives her elemental skill to an ally, that ally speed increases by 30% for 1 turn. So putting that speed increase on a character like Seal is going to matter in the grand scheme of things because having the higher speed allows that character to deal more damage with the light cone, right? The light cone gives more damage amplifications to Seal's kit because it helps her deal more damage based on her speed. And having that speed increased by Bronya, well, of course, makes this game more pay to win, but it makes Seal deal even more damage. So her 4th constellation, whenever an ally uses a basic attack on enemy with wind weakness, Bronya will immediately automatically launch a follow-up attack on that target and deal wind damage equal to 80% of Bronya's basic attack damage. And this can only be triggered one time per turn. So depending on the ally, it could be triggered one time per ally. Now, I want to say something. We'll do testing, but Bronya's fourth constellation. In my head, I'm thinking that Bronya's fourth constellation may have synergy with her talent, giving her a action forward increase by 33% of max levels. So if you attack the enemy and you're constantly doing a follow-up attack, because you're doing basic attack damage, so does it count as a basic attack or just follow-up attack? Who knows? We'll have to see. But if that's the case and it counts as a basic attack, even though it says a follow-up attack, getting a CR push for every time an ally hits the enemy is going to be really nasty. And then her sixth constellation, the ally damage boost effect of Bronya's elemental skill and extends its duration by 1 turn. So this will make rotations a lot more smooth whenever you use her elemental skill on an ally, because you don't have to constantly keep proccing it in order to get the 50% skill reset, right? So this all really is a quality of life, but it is more DPS increase because you'll constantly have the uptime of having the elemental skill, ready to go and not have to worry about wasting skill points. She has a little bit of slower base speed, but you ideally want her to go after seal, not before seal. We'll explain how that works, of course, when the game does launch and we show the two characters overall. And you've all seen her character design, but one more time for your eyes. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, this is her light cone, Bronya's best in slot light cone, right? Of course, obviously, right? There's a picture of Bronya on the screen. I'd be surprised if this wasn't. So it is Harmony. You can use this on any Harmony character. So there is characters like Ting Yun who would benefit from Bronya's light cone, probably even more than Bronya herself. So how this works is you increase your energy recharge rate by 16% for Bronya, the welder. It could be Ting Yun, any other character that's using the artifact or light cone, and you will give energy to any ally that you use the elemental skill of. So you can use your elemental skill on a character like Seal and you'll give her 10 energy, which is really massive. And lastly, whenever you use your ultimate, you will be getting 1 skill point whenever you use your ultimate on an ally. So that's why I mentioned this being really good for Ting Yun, because Ting Yun, just like Bronya, also wants to use the ultimate, so her elemental burst and her elemental skill in the same turn to one ally, so giving that ally as much damage amplifications that you can do. So having this on Ting Yun, while Ting Yun's ultimate also gives 50 energy to the ally, it's going to be really massive. It's going to be best in slot on Ting Yun because the energy recharge rate is going to be really good because it will help with getting your ult, thus proccing the passive of this light cone. And you'll also be able to give the ally energy. So Ting Yun gives 50 energy at the first level, and I believe it does increase as you level it up. And then she will give, unless it's like 50 flat, I'm not sure. She'll give energy from her ult, and then she will give energy from the light cone every time you proc the light cone from using the elemental skill, which will give 10 energy, which you want to use both in the same turn, as I said before. And that's going to be really massive for a character like Yang Qing, perhaps, right? That has an extremely high cost elemental burst. 140 is a massive amount. Or a character like Seal, who also has a pretty high elemental burst. Now, it is a little lower than Yang Qing's, but it's still really high. And so being able to funnel energy to your single target or any DPS you're using in your team, even Himiko, for crying out loud, this will make Himiko a lot stronger. The damage implications you get from Bronya or Ting Yun, or maybe both, and then having the energy from Bronya or Ting Yun to Himiko is going to make that character so much better because she is very, I don't want to say ult dependent. Her ult is a massive portion of her overall DPS. So these two characters with this light cone is going to be so much better. So that's why this light cone is going to be very important going forward whenever you do use any of those characters. So that's going to be the video here. Thank you all for watching. I hope you got something out of this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Bronya. We're going to incorporate her in a future video. I won't really spoil much, but yeah, it's going to be the video here. Thank you all for watching and have a nice rest of your day.